course, it's a national day of deep commemoration. I know we were just speaking earlier, you were saying some people even see it in a quasi-religious way. But as a veteran, how do you feel on Anzac Day?
Anzac Day for me, my first memories of it were watching my grandfather march with his cavalry and crewmates up in Sydney, and then watching them have a quiet beer together afterwards. And my grandfather was badly wounded on the 31st of March 1945 during an air-sea rescue, and they obviously bonded through that experience. So for me, Anzac was always about my grandfather. My other grandfather served in Darwin during the war as well, so there was always a personal element. But once I served myself, I came to appreciate the diversity of Anzac. The wonderful thing about the ADF is that it's a huge melting pot. It doesn't matter where you're from or what your background or what your state is. You join up, you take off your civilian clothes, you put on your uniform, you put our flag on your left shoulder, and you serve the nation with a single mission. And that's what makes Anzac Day so special. It's a day that unites us as a country.
It does, and I'd like to think you're right, although I feel like Anzac Day has in recent years become politicised, and that's very unwelcome, but there is an element that questions Anzac Day and questions the values that underpin it, which mean, to use colloquial parlance, I think is un-Australian, but it shouldn't be politicised. Of course not. It's about commemorating those who've sacrificed their lives for our nation. And I have here the Australian War Memorial's beautiful tribute to the 41 Australians who died on operations in Afghanistan. And I know you knew many of these men who served with distinction and great bravery. Why is it, do you think, that Anzac Day gets caught up in politics?
It's a really good question. I think the growth of government over the last 50 years means that politics is infiltrating all areas of our life, which is why we have more debates and disagreements with family members and friends. And Anzac Day is one of those institutions where we want to get political free, because ultimately it's about remembering sacrifice, and a nation that no longer has at the centre of its value system sacrifice will not continue, because I'm a Burkean, so I believe in that contract between the dead, the living and the unborn, and I think Anzac expresses that in ways that people can identify with. There's a ritual to it. I think one of the things I really care about is keeping Anzac out of the culture wars, because if Anzac Day becomes a casualty of the culture wars, we ruin it, and it's something that should be accessible to all Australians, whether you're an Indigenous Australian, a third generation Australian, or a new Australian. You should be able to access Anzac because it's about our values as a country.